Welcome everyone to the channel. I mentioned in a previous video the G7 summit is occurring right now over in Italy. And the Pope is really getting around these days. I just covered how the Pope was meeting with comedians over at the Vatican. Of course, this is to talk about what's mean, what's hateful. We need to use comedy with diversity. This is to censor speech. No one's paying attention. We talked about recently the Pope talking about, well, he's not saying Project Bluebeam, but talking about how the Vatican is going to literally be involved in Project Bluebeam, which we all knew would be the case when they fake some type of rapture event in the sky and tell you that it's divine, that it's God speaking to everyone. Of course, people will turn to the Vatican and trust in the Vatican, not realizing the Vatican's really the ones behind all of this stuff, working hand in hand with those bagel lovers over in that land very close by to where they are. So the Pope went to this G7 meeting, and everybody's like, oh, it's a big deal. The Pope's going there. Pope's never been there before. It's a big thing. Well, the Pope went there because he wanted to talk about AI, right? Who better to talk about AI than the Pope? Oh, exactly. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't. But it makes sense to those of us who understand what this is really about. So the Pope, I got to read some of the stuff that's come out of this with the Pope, some of the stuff he said, because it talks about techno-human condition, human versus algorithmic decision making. That's very important because I talked about this AI governance. Think about all the stuff going on in the world, right? Humans are racist, humans are this, humans are that. Everybody's judging one another, right? This is being done by design. Well, algorithms don't see gender. They don't see race. They don't see sexual preference. They don't see any of that. They just see what's right. That's what we're headed towards. That's how they're normalizing AI. They're telling you that all this stuff is, and people are going to want it. They're going to want it because they're going to feel victimized. Oh, I'm a conservative. I'm victimized because my conservative conspiracy viewpoint. Well, even the algorithm won't see that, right? Oh, I'm LGBT and everybody out there is judgmental of me. I'd rather have the algorithm make the decisions. That's what they want, right? So listen to some of the stuff in here. And keep in mind this term, techno-human condition. These are things that are coming out of Pope Francis's mouth. So, Pope Francis addressed the G7 Leaders Summit in Italy. He's the first Pope ever to address the forum which brings together the leaders of the US, UK, Italy, France, Canada, Germany, and Japan. The Pope dedicated his address to the G7 to the subject of AI. He began by saying that the birth of AI represents, quote, a true cognitive industrial revolution, which will lead to complex transformations. I'm sorry, what? What? That's right. So a true cognitive industrial revolution. Well, that's interesting with the Industrial Revolution being that this New World Order is being termed the Fourth Industrial Revolution, right? Well, there's the Pope just giving a little nod to the World Economic Forum and the new true cognitive industrial revolution. And then he says complex transformations. Well, what he's not telling you in that terminology is that the transformation, the one I've covered many times, that black goo, the transformation, that all these celebrities always use that word, transformation. From the first video I ever did, from Rihanna's Anti-Diary, the transformation. All the way to now, I've covered that word, transformation, okay? It's humans, the human transformation. The transformation of exactly what they're talking about here, man and machine. It says these transformations, the Pope said, have the potential to be both positive, for example, the democratization of access to knowledge, the exponential advancement of scientific research, just stuff that people just agree with and go along with. They don't know what that means. Scientific research to what? Oh, modern medicine. Okay, and a re-education in demanding and arduous work. The negative, for instance, quote, greater injustice between advanced and developing nations or between dominant and oppressed social classes, right? This is one of the things we keep hearing that the suckers fall for, right? Injustice between advanced and developing nations. They want you to think that the developing nations, even though all these people could feed the developing nations with the money they have, they fly around on, they piss away, that they put in it, they can feed these people, right? Because the most important thing at the end of the day is food and water to survive. I'm not sure if anyone out there even knows that in 2024. I think most of these Gen Zers don't even realize you need food and water to live. I think they just are on autopilot, so they think it's a luxury in the day to eat and have water. And I think that is true, actually, not even joking. That they don't realize how long they could even go without food or water. We could all probably look at it and say, yeah, they probably don't know. You know? They probably don't even realize it. No, they don't. probably don't even realize if the power is off, unless they live in a city, they wouldn't even be able to access water. No, they don't realize that, right? So what they do, even though these people could feed all these countries, they talk about injustices between the developing countries, and they get you convinced that our tax money should go to these other countries and stuff like that. And of course, what is the other thing we hear tied in with the developing countries? Oh, they can't get magic potions. Well, trust me, the people in third world countries are probably more aware of what's going on than people in developed countries like America. They're probably smarter than we are. In fact, I could guarantee they are. They're more self-dependent than people in countries like America, right? They don't want the potions, and they certainly don't want the technology, but they're going to force it on them, right? Because they're going to force digital IDs and everything else on all these countries. So it goes on to talk about the techno-human condition. Noting that AI is above all a tool, the Pope spoke of what he called the techno-human condition. He explained that he is referring to the fact that humans' relationships with the environment has always been mediated by the tools that they have produced. Some, the Pope said, see this as a weakness or a deficiency. However, he argued it is in fact something positive. It stems, he said, from the fact that we are beings inclined to what lies outside of us, beings radically open to the beyond, right? To the beyond. I mean, he's not talking about God, okay? He's not talking about Jesus Christ. We know what he's talking about, beyond the veil. We know exactly what he's talking about with trans-techno-human condition, or I should say techno-human condition. Transhumanism is the word I was pulling for, not the other trans word that we all know about, which, again, not really human either, huh? So the openness, Pope Francis said, is both the root of our techno-human condition and the root of our openness to others and to God. Of course, he's going to tie God into deceive, as well as the root of our artistic and intellectual creativity. Decision-making is the big thing. The Pope moved to the subject of decision-making, saying that AI is capable of making, quote, algorithmic choices. That is technical. Choices, quote, among several possibilities based either on well-defined criteria or on statistical inferences. Human beings, however, quote, not only choose, but in their hearts are capable of deciding. This is because the Pope explained they are capable of wisdom, of what the ancient Greeks called phronosis, a type of intelligence concerned with practical action and of listening to sacred scripture. It is thus very important, the Pope stressed, that important decisions must always be left to the human person. As an example of this principle, the Pope pointed to the development of lethal autonomous weapons which could take human life with no human input, and said they must ultimately be banned. Algorithms, neither objective nor neutral. The Pope stressed that the algorithms used by AI to arrive at choices are neither objective nor neutral. He pointed to the algorithms designed to help judges in deciding whether to grant home confinement to prison inmates. These programs, he said, make a choice based on data, such as the type of offense, behavior in prison, psychological assessment, and the prisoner's ethnic origin, educational attainment, and credit rating. However, the Pope stressed this is reductive. Human beings are always developing, and we are capable of surprising us by their own actions. This is something that a machine cannot take into account. He talked about algorithms only examining realities formalized in numerical terms. Okay, so the Pope is conditioning and preparing everybody out there, pretending like, well, we'll put humans first. Humans will have the final say. Not telling you which humans will have the final say, right? Members of these secret societies like the Jesuits, etc., they won't tell you who will have the decisions. But AI serves a purpose, is what he goes on to talk about. Okay, algorithms who are neutral, algorithms who do not see skin color, algorithms who could use data to make proper decisions. So this is how you start integrating AI into our day-to-day lives. That specific thing about, well, we're going to look at this guy, right? He was arrested. Are we going to let him do home imprisonment or stay in a prison cell? Is he a threat to society? Well, the data will show us, right? The data. And people will go, well, right. So the judge might look at this guy and say he's a convict. Right? He might say he's black, so he might be raped. He might not want to let him out because he's, got his own feelings on the inside. We need this to be neutral. Is he really a threat to society? Is he really dangerous? Well, look at the data. Remember, I've always talked about this with the word data. Everyone hears data. They don't even think for 5 seconds about what it is. You're the data. You are the data. I am the data. They're listening. They're monitoring. Where are the data? And every time they do some type of an event, a false flag at a school, or the event they just ran, Event 201 Live, they look at what we say on the internet, because we're literally uploading our consciousness on the internet. People out there on autopilot. Every time something happens, they put out a press release on their Facebook account. Oh, I'd like to say my mother tragically passed, and they just give this press release. You're like, what? Your mother passed? You're going on Facebook to tell everybody? And you're writing it like you're a corporation? Oh, right. You've been trained to do that. You don't even realize it. Most of you may even do that yourselves and not realize it. Okay? That's how they control the condition. Most people do. They upload their consciousness online. That's the data they grab. So when they do fake events, they want to see what you're saying, how you're looking. Are you believing the fake event? Then they see how many people don't. Like people like this guy right here talking. And they put that in a box. And they go, okay, then we have 10% of the people that are questioning, all right, we need to call it propaganda to make sure we get those people more suppressed. And we need more laws passed to make those people criminals, because they're not believing our propaganda enough, right? So the Pope is talking about really how he says, quote, strictly speaking, so-called generative artificial intelligence is not really generative. It does not develop new analysis or concepts, but rather repeats those that it finds, giving them an appealing form. The Pope says risks undermining the educational process itself. Education, he emphasized, should offer the chance for authentic reflection, but instead runs the risk of being reduced to a repetition of notions which will increasingly be evaluated as unobjectionable, simply because of their constant repetition. Okay, this is just the start. This is the start of it, right? The Pope is defending, in a sense, not really, but he's talking about, well, humans will be needed for this, but AI is needed for that. Instead of going and saying, hey, we don't need AI, the negatives outweigh the pros. What's the pro? You're going to tell us it's going to help with modern medicine? No thanks. We already saw how that just went. We all know how that's going. We know what the goal is of that. Not really to cure people. There's natural cures and remedies all around us that they never tell us about, right? He is conditioning you to accepting AI, telling you why AI is needed. Again, I talked about this in a previous video. Everybody needs to be against this. Everybody needs to say, get it off the face of the earth. Go and arrest people like Gordy Rose for creating this type of technology. Arrest them for being criminals. They don't have the authority to do this. It's like creating something. If somebody created a bomb at their home, and it was a bomb that could blow up a big building, right? You found out your neighbor was doing that. Would you want him arrested? You'd be like, whoa, my neighbor built a bomb. You say, he built a bomb. Call the police. That's the reaction that 10 out of 10 people would have, right? I don't want my neighbor. I don't trust my neighbor. You trust your neighbor. You should have a bomb. Okay. We'll look at AI the same way. But they don't. They go, well, AI is not. They don't know because they can't comprehend what it is. So they just go, well, AI is like Keanu Reeves fakes, Tom Cruise fakes, and it entertains me. So that's all it's going to be used for. It's nothing dangerous. Can't be like a bomb. Oh, it could be worse than an actual bomb going off. Much, much worse. And it will be. It will be much, much worse. So what the Pope is doing is trying to get people to go, look, we're not going to get rid of people. We still need people. But did you know that AI can look at things from a data standpoint, a neutral standpoint? So there's going to be things that we need AI for. Because the judge might look at the black man and say that we don't want him on house arrest because we don't trust him because he's racist, right? But the data from the algorithm, from AI, well, that'll tell us that this guy's been behaved in prison, and even though he's done this 10 times in the past, we can forgive him, and he's safe, we can trust him, right? That's what they're trying to normalize. What we can integrate AI into now, so we have to accept it, putting laws and bills in place to protect AI, and thus we have to accept it in our society. Again, emphasize that. So I'm trying to say, bringing this to a close, the Pope emphasized that AI is always shaped by the worldview of those who invented and developed it. Who are these people? Who are these people? Do you know them? No? Oh, you're supposed to believe what? Some dork with glasses sitting behind a computer? Right? But again, I just keep using this reference because it makes people go, oh, right. But if I told you, oh, the worldview of those who invented and developed it. So what if I told you it was Jeffrey Dahmer? You're like, oh, it's not Jeffrey. What if it was? How about that? What if it was? Some guy you don't know? What if it was some giant pet? What if it was the most wicked person you could possibly imagine? Right? Whatever that is in your mind, right? They created that with Hitler and people's mind. Whoever it is. What if it was that person in their viewpoints? Oh, then it could be dangerous, right? But you don't want to think like that now because you don't fear it like that now because the television's telling you not to fear like that now, right? I mean, that's the quote. The worldview of those who invented and developed, the people you don't know but you're supposed to trust because they're smarter than you. He says a particular concern in this regard is that, quote, increasingly difficult to find agreement on the major issues concerning social life. There is less and less consensus that is regarding the philosophy that should be shaping artificial intelligence. What is necessary, therefore, the Pope said, is the development of an algor ethics, a series of global and pluralistic principles that are capable of finding support from cultures, religions, international organizations, and major corporations. Quote, if we struggle to define a single set of global values, find shared principles with which to address and resolve dilemmas or conflicts regarding how to live. What's the key word in there? What's the key word? Global values. That's the key word. If we struggle to find global, well, they're forcing global values on you, okay? Which is tolerance and acceptance to all this satanic garbage. Global values, which will be policed through AI. This all goes back to what I've shown you a million times, right? From the World Economic Forum, okay? AI governance. The thing you don't hear any of the alt-right media talk about. Why would the alt-right media want you indoctrinated with tech and stuck in the left-right? Because that's where this goes. That's where we're headed towards. Hurting humans, right? Global values. That is like going to be the new world order's global values, which will be their commandments for how you live, what you can and cannot say, what you must accept, what they'll criminalize you for, which is things like hate speech. Trust me, 20 years from now, we're even here, and most of us don't even think we will be. Let's just say hypothetically. Let's not debate it. We're here in 20 years, okay? What is looked at today like the worst thing someone can do, murder maybe, right? Or something with a kid. 20 years, hate speech will be above those things. Hate speech will be above murder. It'll be viewed as the same. And you can look at it, I'm sure some people are like, oh, I can see it. You should be able to see it. Because right now in our current society, people are more rabid over speech than they are people who are committing crimes. And we're forgiving of people who are getting arrested for crimes. Say, no, give them a second chance, let them out. And there are people who say something, they can't change. They said that word, no way, never forgive them for that. That's all done by design, of course. Global value. So the Pope concluded his speech by saying, only a healthy politics involving the most diverse sectors and skills, the Pope stressed, is capable of dealing with the challenges and promises of AI. Right, of course, who's that? Right, healthy. What is healthy politics? Most diverse sectors. So, okay, diverse sectors, LGBT, all these types of people, right? All people who are anti-God, and the Pope, of course, is supposed to stand for God, but does not. Right, healthy politics, what does that mean? Oh, accepting and tolerating everything. Right? Be a good person. Give all your money to Ukraine. Give it to the government. Give it to the CIA. Let them launder it. I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is. So the goal of Pope Francis Included is not stifling human creativity and its ideals of progress, but rather directing that energy along new channels. So there you go. The Pope brought in to talk about this. So Christians to be eased in. Of course, if you're a Christian, you follow the Pope. I mean, I don't know what to tell you at this point. I don't know any. Obviously, I know the majority. I don't know Christians who are like obsessed with the Pope, but I know that they're out there. Probably more older people. But look, this is what they're going to do with AI. This is why we need AI. This is what AI is for. But we still need humans. Oh, okay, good. They're not getting rid of us. Okay, so AI can be involved in these decisions that are neutral. These things like deciding this or that, data driven, right? They've conditioned you over the years. You don't even realize it with data stuff, right? The data shows us all these expressions we hear. How many times do you see these things with sports? If you follow sports or whatever, they'll have a who's playing in the Super Bowl? They'll be, well, we did a simulation. Oh, this team won 90% of the time, right? These are all things they've conditioned you into, so that AI can start taking control and power over decisions on the earth. They'll start off by just saying, well, these are things that we need them to do neutrally. They got to do neutral. Then eventually they start saying, well, humans haven't adapted and evolved. They still, their political beliefs are still a problem. We'll use AI here so that it's all neutral. Keep everybody divided and fighting. So we'll slide AI in as the police, the thought police, who doesn't see it. And of course, these things are all programmed to condemn and persecute people like me and you. That's what they're programmed to do. If you're not compliant to the sickness that they're spreading, that these demons are spreading, well, you'll be a criminal. I thank everybody for being here. We're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.